Okay, we are trying this again. Get my jacket on. Let me know if it's working, baby. Friends, compatriots, family, others. If you just randomly chiming in, we have had some technical difficulties today, and it is fuck this all up. What's the word, my love? Working? Let's see. Hopefully it's working. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Here we are. Friends. Everyone. Hopefully it works this time. Yeah. I'm going to sit here and go with it. And we're on part 3 today. And technical fucking difficulties. God damn it. All right. Today we are finally catching up with Kay. So here we go. Chapter 8. In Truro, Massachusetts, it was a lovely, fresh summer morning. Truro was a place that could boast at least as much history as New York City, but was nowhere as near as in-your-face about it. The streets radiated charm, grace, and peace. The people on the street exuded the New England virtues of duty, discretion, and decorum. The heritage of early America overlay the whole scene like a fine patina, bringing out the golden highlights in an oil portrait of one of the founding fathers. The only circumstances under which a citizen of Truro would demand, "Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?" would be if he was unsure whether or not the interlocutor in question really could wish to initiate the conversation. It was all very serene and amiable. Narrow minds might dare to call it dull. Even the city post office gave the impression that its employees might be occasionally miffed, or at worst peeved, but disgruntled was never an option. The Mercedes pulled up right in front of the post office. Jay had been driving all night in order to get here, and he looked disgruntled enough for a whole battalion of postal employees. The drive wasn't the only reason for his monumental bad mood. "You're still mad," Frank's rueful voice came from out of sight on the passenger side. "Shut up." "I had to take a leak," the pug pleaded. "What's the big deal?" "We're undercover," Jay shot back in an "I can't believe I have to explain this to you" tone. Undercover is not walking into a gas station and saying, "Who the hell's got the key to the little boy's room?" "If they didn't keep it locked up, it never would have happened," Frank replied self-righteously. "And anyway, I think you like using that neuralizer." Jay got out of the car and pointed at his partner. "Stay." The pug gave him the stink eye. "I may look like a dog, but actually I only play one here on Earth," he commented in an offended tone. The inside of the Truro post office was wholly unremarkable. It was quaint and picturesque in its own utilitarian way. A number of service windows lined one wall, each designated by a large overhead sign bearing a letter of the alphabet. Customers milled around or stood waiting their turns, standing in line with the same stoic attitude that got them through wars, blizzards, and nights when the cable TV went out. Under the big square sign marked Window C, former MIB agent K manned his post. His weathered face hasn't changed much, and neither had his take-charge manner. "Good people of Truro, Massachusetts, may I kindly have your attention," he called out. Jay looked up, along with everyone else, wondering what the hell this was about. "In order for us to expedite your shipping needs, I'd like to remind you that all packages must be properly wrapped," Kay continued. He held up a package that not even the most charitable critic would call wrapped. Its covering was loose in a dozen places, wadded down with layer upon layer of tape in a dozen more. The finished product was a testament to the fact that whoever had created that pathetic attempt was as bad as the federal government at making ends meet. The woman at the head of the sea window line squirmed, blushed, and kept her eyes fixed on the floor. But Kay was too dedicated to work to let the little thing like one person's public humiliation prevent him from delivering a valuable lesson. If the many would benefit, the needs of the individuals sometimes had to be sacrificed. Now this, he made sure that the whole post office got a good look at the offending parcel. This will be an example of go home and do it again. I think you know what I mean, Miss Vigushin, he said, turning his attention to the woman who had tried to mail that affront to hardworking United States Postal Service employees everywhere. Brown paper and double twist twine are the preferred media. Thank you for your time. As Miss Vigushin grabbed her pitiful-looking package and scurried away in search of a rock to crawl under, Jay stepped up to the window. Kay, he said. Kay looked up, then pointed at the sign above his window. C, he corrected. Express mail, 2-day air. His old MIB designation hadn't registered at all. Jay hadn't expected it to, though there was one tiny cell in the back of his brain that foolishly held on to the hope, that smallest spark of hope imaginable, that Kay would remember him. Man recruits you, gets you into the organization, works with you, watches your back, risks his life with you. You'd think he'd be something left behind. He thought, damn, that neuralizer's good. He sighed, damn. He looked at the name tag of his former partner now wore. Kevin. Kevin, he said, reading it out loud. Kevin, he had to laugh. Never thought of you as a... He stopped. Kay was staring back at him as if he were out of his mind. Jay snapped back to business. You don't remember me, but we used to work together. Kay studied Jay's plain black suit. Never worked at a funeral home, he said. He glanced at the line that was beginning to form behind Jay. Something I can do for you, Slick? Okay, Jay leaned in, having decided that the direct approach was the best. Straight to the point. You are a former agent of a top-secret organization that monitors the activities of extraterrestrials on Earth. We are the Men in Black. We have a situation. We need your help. Kay didn't even blink. There's free mental health clinic on the corner of Lilac and East Valley. Craning his neck, he declared. Next. I need some beer. Jay found himself being shoved aside by an 8-year-old girl. 20 Rugrat stamps, please, she said. Elizabeth, while the United States Postal Service doesn't exactly keep up with the interests of today's youth, could I perhaps offer you something else? Kay pulled open his drawer and paged through the block plates of postage stamps offering Elizabeth such stamps as Berlin Airlift, Amish quilts, opera legends, all of which she flatly rejected. Before Kay could show Elizabeth more options, Jay muscled his way back to Kay's window. Excuse me, sweetie. Trying to save the planet here, he mumbled, physically lifting her up and placing her firmly out of the way. Excuse the burps. To Kay, he said, where do you think that we were before you came here? Anyone ever give you an explanation for that? One that made sense? Kay turned over another page of stamps, offering no comment. They told you that you'd been in a coma for years, didn't they? Jay pressed. Only there wasn't any coma. Your coma was a cover. Kay closed the stamp drawer and looked up, his expression betraying nothing. It was a look that Jay had seen many times before, a look that said it was possible to keep your cool without becoming cold, that you could take care of business and still care for your lives you were touching. They hadn't worked together for years, far from that, but there was still a bond between them, part mutual, part respect, part admiration, and part true friendship. Too bad it's all one-sided now, Jay thought. Kay's eyes narrowed. Who are you? Who are you? He demanded. Question is, who are you? Jay countered. Postmaster of Truro, Massachusetts. Kay replied with military precision, and as such, I am ordering you to leave these premises. Break. He closed his window and made a snappy about face, leaving disappointed Elizabeth rugratless. Kay headed straight for the mail sorting area. Either he didn't know that Jay was right behind him, or he didn't care. He could handle it either way. He wore competence the way other men wore aftershave. As soon as he crossed the threshold, he spotted one of his underlings, a young postal employee fiddling with the coffee machine. From his earliest days with the men in black, Kay had hated fidgeters. That decaf, he snapped. The pot slipped from the young man's trembling hands and smashed to the floor. Some people just weren't cut out to work in the armed forces, especially when they'd been expecting a career in the postal service. Sorry, he said, his voice shaking worse than his hands. It's either caffeine or Kay that's got that kid jumping half out of his skin, Jay thought. And my money ain't on Mr. Coffee. You can take the man out of the MIB, but man, Kay, you haven't changed a bit. Maybe this is going to be easy. Maybe. As if to prove to Jay just how right he was, Kay swung into action right before his former partner's eyes. All right, people, we have a breach, Kay announced, indicating the smashed coffee pot. Farrell, cordon off the area. Billings, full perimeter wipe down. Kay, Jay said, trying to get the man's attention. He did. Kay noted his presence, logged it, and decided what to do about it. Farrell, please escort this non-essential civilian from this site immediately. Jay easily shook off Farrell's attempt to obey orders and rounded on Kay. Listen to yourself, he commanded. Who talks like that about a damn smashed coffee pot? What's it going to take to? Inspiration struck. He whipped out a compact device and held it up to the assembled postal employees. Strings of alien characters spilled down the screen. A crash dump of information telling Jay what planet they hailed from and the language they spoke. Jay looked up from his device and said loud and clear, Skalooch! The workers stopped what they were doing, stopped dead. Jay drew his MIB ID and held it up so that they could get a clear view of it. Had to say Habilmoo, he directed them in their own tongue. It was a variation on the standard police command, drop it. They dropped it. Human disguises hit the floor faster than the smashed coffee pot. The full complement of the Truro, Massachusetts post office workforce stood revealed in their true forms, complete with beaks, bug eyes, scales, tentacles, and a wide assortment of other physical characteristics that made Earth's resident alien populace so visually interesting. Kay was still taking this in when Jay reached under the machine that was sorting letters and hit a recessed keypad panel with a proper code sequence. A door on the machine swung open, revealing neither a tangle of wires, a pack of closely stacked circuit boards, nor a medley of flanges, doohickeys, and electronic whatsits. Rather, there was a multi-limbed extraterrestrial perched inside, using those limbs to distribute letters into the proper slots at a phenomenal eye-blurring rate. One free limb held a cigarette, another a latte grande from Starbucks. The critter didn't slow down for a microsecond, even on being discovered. It was a double-shot latte. Why do you think you ended up working in the post office? Jay said to Kay. They're all aliens. They're used to working with aliens. That's why you feel comfortable here. Kay behaved as though Jay were a bad TV program with the soundtrack muted. He looked at his newly revealed coworkers, letting it all sink in, and went right for the multi-limbed creature inside the mail sorting machine. No smoking, he said roughly, confiscating the cigarette. He then turned on his heel and marched out of the building. Jay raced after him and caught up with his former partner just as Kay was getting into a mail delivery jeep. He was expecting the usual questions and protests, the same ones that MIB agents always got from civilians who were confronted by the impossible knowledge that we are not alone. Even though Kay had once had all the answers since he'd been neuralized, he was in the same boat with the rest of the uninitiated populace. So Jay figured he'd be wanting to know the full story, like who, what, when, where, and why am I losing my mind? Jay was wrong. Wife and I been to Vegas, Kay said, deadpan. Saw Sigrid Frigid and Roy make a white tiger fly around the room. Your routine's nothing special, Slick. He made as if to start the jeep. Jay held on the rearview mirror and the frame door. Before he came here from New York, he'd been giving a standard briefing, bringing him up to speed on everything that had happened in Kay's life since he'd left the MIB. Parts of it were painful. He didn't like to open up an old friend's wounds, But this was business. A man did what it took to get the job done. Kay had taught him that himself. You look up at the sky at night and you think you know more about what's going on up there than you do. Oh, wrong character. You look up at the sky at night and you think you know more than what's going on out there than what you do down here, Jay said urgently. You got a feeling in your gut, like you don't know who you are, and it eats at you every day of your life. It's why she left you, Kay. It's why your life left you. Why your wife left you. He didn't see Kay's fist coming down until it connected with his chin, knocking him back a few steps. He shook it off with a touch of pride, observed. Stay in pretty good shape. Then, more honestly, he told him, look, if you want to know who you really are, come take a ride with me. If not, people are waiting for their TV guides. He left it at that and walked away. Sometimes no more words could be said than to tilt the balance. Some things a man had to decide for himself. He went back to the Mercedes and got in behind the wheel. Moments later, Kay opened the passenger door and slid in beside him. Just going for a ride, he stated. Things don't add up. Hasta luego. Hear what I'm saying, Junior? I hear you. Jay did his best not to smile, but it was hard. Hearing Kay call him Junior like that made him seem like old times. He started the car. A faint noise from the back seat made Kay turn around. All tongue-lolling doggy smiles, Frank the pug wagged his fat little tail. Hey, Kay, he said. Long time no see. Your replacement, Jay explained, privately enjoying every minute of it. So who you calling Junior? He floored the gas pedal, and the Mercedes took off in reverse, spewing smoke and fishtailing wildly before it sped at the roar around this corner. My voice is fucking up today. I'm just having some trouble, apparently. I need a little bit more water. And then we're on to chapter 9, my friends. All right. Chapter 9, Men in Black 2. For as long as Jay had known him, Kay had been a man of few words, but this was ridiculous. Even driving the Mercedes at top speed, it was a long trip from Truro back to the Men in Black headquarters. But all the conversation inside the car, Jay might as well have been bringing home a gravestone. Maybe I am, he thought. Here lies Agent K, survived by his ex-wife and some postmaster dude from Truro named Kevin. Kevin, if that don't beat all. Worse than Kay's silence, though, were Frank's irrepressible attempts to keep the non-existent conversation going all by himself. By the time the Mercedes pulled into its parking spot, Jay was ready to have the pug neutered. Several times, just to make sure, Kay's expression didn't give up a single iota of recognition as they entered the building, where they'd served so joyfully for so many years. The roar of the twin exhaust fans in the entry hall barely made him blink. Good to see you, Kay, the guard said, still not bothering to look up from his newspaper. Good to see you, too, Kay replied. But the twinge of encouragement Jay felt was quickly quashed as they stepped into the elevator and Kay muttered, Whoever the hell you are. He went into the crestfallen Jay and said, Okay, let's see what we got here, sport. He didn't need to add, and it had better be worth the trip. We're only doing this chapter because my brain is fucked up from all this fuck up. Jay couldn't help grinning just a little as he looked at his old friend's impassive face. Then he looked down at the Bermuda shorts Kay was wearing as part of the official summer uniform of the United States Postal Service, got an eyeful of his former partner's knees, and grinned a little more. God, I missed you, he said, shaking his head. Kay's stony expression didn't change a hair when the elevator door opened, revealing the main hall of Men in Black headquarters. Nothing seemed to startle him, scare him, or even impress him enough for it to register to where any other person could read it. What's this dude got running through his veins? Jay wondered. Ice water? It was as good a guess as any. Jay walked through the midst of the huddled alien masses, yearning to respire freely, as if he saw this kind of thing on a daily basis. Back to Truro, he'd rub elbows with aliens, the ones who'd had elbows. But since he'd never actually seen any of them in their alien forms until today, That didn't count. Blue-skinned blobs with warts, tentacled critters, half wombat and half vending machine, slime-slowing multipedes that looked like trampled Easter bonnets, whose ever-changing flesh tones could not match the drapes in anyone's homes. All these and more slid and slopped and sashayed across Kay's field of vision, with about as much impact as a gnat bite on a hippopotamus. The guy's a natural, Jay thought. Lucky thing, him stumbling across the whole first contact scene way back when. There's just so much training can do. Man wants to be MIB, man's got to have natural-born talent. He straightened his necktie, preening, remembering how this was the same man who tapped him to join the ranks of the Men in Black. Jay smiled. Man's got talent. Man knows enough to recognize talent when he sees it. Then his smile winked out. Too damn bad he's not recognizing anything else right now. It was true and painful for Jay to watch. Though Kay was taking everything in, it was obvious that none of it was ringing any mental bells. Not so a man could tell by looking at him. On the other hand, in the sight of the MIB headquarters wasn't any effect on Kay. Kay's reappearance sure as hell was having a big effect on MIB headquarters. The first thing Jay noticed were the whispers. They welled up all around as he and Kay crossed the floor. Little ripples of sound as the agents on duty stood witness to the return of Kay. God damn it. My brain is fucking up today. I'm trying to provide an entertaining and fun show for you, and I'm just fucking up. God damn it. Kay. Hey, look, isn't that? Seen pictures before my time, but thought he wasn't. Sure, he's not dead. What kind of dumbass rumors have you been listening to? That's him, I tell you. Clone? I swear to God, if I ever get my hands on the jackass who started that stupid clone story, I'm gonna. Hey, that's Kay. Kay for real? Son of a gun. What's he doing back here? Think you'll remember me? Welcome back. Good to see you. Agent Kay. Some acknowledged his return with a nod, some with a discreet salute, some with a thumbs up so quickly there and gone that his very appearance was debatable. The whispers and the murmured greetings and the gestures followed the two former partners down the main hall. An eager young rookie, still showing that just out of the training box shine, ran after them. His given name was gone. All traces of his former existence had been erased as surely as his fingerprints. But he was new enough to the agency that none of that mattered to him. For the moment, it was all about proving that he could do his job, showing the world that Agent G really was the best of the best. He focused on the task of the moment with laser beam concentration, often to the exclusion of everything outside his field of vision. The result was that he spent an awful lot of time doing delayed reactions and double takes. Right now, he had urgent business with Agent J. Sighting his target, he rushed up behind him and pounced. Don't mean to bother you, Agent J, he began, crisp as neatly starched points on his collar. But if you... That was when he saw Kay. Picture the kid you saw in algebra class, the one who taped all the episodes of every single science fiction show and memorized all the dialogue. Now double that, and you might have some faint idea of the transformation that overtook Agent G. All of his slick professionalism fell away, leaving behind a core of pure, unadulterated, gushing fanboy. It wasn't pretty. Oh my God, you're Agent K. So they tell me, Kay replied evenly. This is an honor. He edged Jay out of the way, without so much as a "may I cut in?" and insinuated himself up close and personal with Kay. Gee, he said. It could have been an expression of wonder, but really it was an introduction. Agent G. He turned to Jay as if imparting the secret combination that would unlock the way to King Solomon's mines, and needlessly explains, Kay, the legend, most respected agent in the history of MIB, the most feared human in the universe, in the flesh. Jay adopted his best do tell, fool expression. It went unnoticed. Agent G was in full-blown gonzo hero worship mode. There were beagle puppies with less enthusiasm and better drool control. G looked back at Kay and struggled to find the right words to express the total fulfillment as a human being now that he had met the man himself. Oh man, I can't. I just can't. Clearly he couldn't. And he switched tacks, trying to buddy up with his idol. Maybe I could buy you a cup of coffee sometime? He suggested, trying to make it sound as if they were nearly equals. Hear some of the old war stories? Kay raised one eyebrow. Black. 2 sugars if you're going, he said. An honor. She came perilously close to giving Kay a Prussian heel click before he scampered away. I'll have a, hey, my man, Jay tried. But he was too late. Damn, he thought. 1 hour ago. Shoot, 1 minute before that boy saw Kay, he'd have been all over himself running to bring me a coffee, going on about how I was an honor. Nasty little brown nosing. Ah, hell, who am I kidding? I'm back in the number 2 slot, and it feels like a number 2. Uh-huh. Their route brought them right up against the massive dead alien. It was still dead, still on that same gurney as before, only now the MIB agents surrounding it were all wearing lab suits up to their elbows in an autopsy. Assorted lumps and gnarls and spongy bits and lengths of interior tubing presented themselves wetly in a gut-churning array that would have sent a bevy of tabloid editors into ecstasies. One of the suited agents looked up from the corpse and saw Jay. Freight elevator's down, he said. We have to do the autopsy here. This guy's not getting any less. When he caught sight of Kay, his reaction was much less intrusive than G's, but it was the sort of thing that separated the rookies from the seasoned personnel. Hey, Kay, you're back, he said with a grin. Yep, Kay replied. A second agent on autopsy duty asked, Any idea what might have done him in? After all, it wasn't every day that they had one of the founding fathers on hand. This was a far greater tribute to Agent K than 1,000 gosh-wall rookies fetching his coffee. Often the best welcome back of all was having people expect you to slip right back into the old routine without fuss or fanfare, just as if you'd never been gone. Kay looked at the body and pursed his lips. Had a cousin about that size that choked on a peanut, he opined. Without another word, he walked off. Choked, the first agent mused. Possibility, he considered, which of the deceased creature's orifices might contain the guilty nut. To Jay, he said, Good to have him back. Throwing a party later, the thoroughly upstaged Jay replied without cracking a smile. In his office, Zeb was taking care of business via the egg screen communicator when Jay walked in. The vista on the screen was a wasteland of snow and ice, a frigid nightmare torn from somewhere in the wilds of Antarctica. A man in an MIB suit stood in the midst of this frozen desolation, addressing Zed via his communicator. That must have been some suit, Jay thought, to grant his wearer such obvious immunity to the bone-chilling cold. Of course, the suit wasn't exactly the most startling thing about the scene on the egg screen. That would be the identity of the man in the suit. Either Agent Zed had developed a fondness for music videos, or the king of pop had decided it was time to become the king of popsicles. Then again, given the celebrity's true identity and planet of origin, a stint in Antarctica was a stroll on the beach for real earthlings. How'd it go? Zed asked the alien known to the public as Michael Jackson. His real name was definitely not meant for human tongue to pronounce. Michael looked pleased with himself as he reported, Zed, the Drolocks are gone and the tree is signed. Good work, Zed replied. In truth, he was only half listening. It was hard to concentrate on the run-of-the-mill status reports that the fate of the entire planet was moonwalking on a high wire above a pit of crocodiles. Michael didn't know this, though. He had his own agenda. Zed, what about the position you promised me in MIB? He asked. Still working on the Alien Affirmative Action Program. Still working on the Alien Affirmative Action Program, he told him. I'll keep you posted. Wait a minute, Michael objected. That's not what you promised me. Zed turned his back to the screen and started to walk away. You're breaking up. Can't hear you, he said smoothly. Zed, hello, Zed, Michael called frantically back into his commuter. I'll call you back. I could be Agent M. The last of his protests were cut off by a dead click and the return of the dial tone as Zed turned to greet Agent J. He then realized who had walked into his office. Kay! He cried, giving the returned former MIB agent a friendly slap on the back. But his initial gladness to seeing his old comrade in arms dimmed quickly under the oppressive urgency of the matter at hand. "Friend," he said, "this think Earth might be in a bad way, and you may be the only one who can save it." Kay wasn't conspicuously impressed. "Well, you know, neither rain nor snow," he said with a dismissive gesture. "Good man," Zed said, not picking up on the fact that he'd just been handed part of the postal worker's creed. He looked at Jay. "Get him armed and up to speed," he directed. "Then over to deneuralization." Jay didn't even bother to acknowledge Zed's orders. He didn't need to. He just moved to comply with the same speed and efficiency that could get a worm crunch subway out of sight. They could get a worm crunch subway car out of sight, and the whole ugly incident out of his 85 odd minds. He moved to gather up his old partner. Frank the pug was trotting along with them when a word from Zed yanked him back out of the power of a choke chain. Frank, I'm going to need to get together this one." Frank, I'm going to need them together on this one," he said. Only them was implied. Zed had the kindness to sound almost apologetic about it. It didn't take much off the edge of it. The little alien hung his head, obviously disappointed. Zed didn't have a reputation as a softie. He was the head of the MIB and had a no-nonsense, all-business attitude that made Kay's own brusque style look as mushy as a 3-week-old peach. Nonetheless, "Frank," he said softly, "I'm looking for a new assistant." The pug looked up. "It's not field work," Zed continued, "but you do get better dental." The worst set of teeth in the whole agency, yellow and irregular with a thin layer of something brown and sticky near the roots, showed themselves off in their atrocious glory as a satisfied and happy Frank smiled broadly. We're at chapter 10. And I wanted to do more today. I wanted to kick its ass like fucking sea bass. I was feeling good at 12 o'clock. Now I'm feeling like shit. Now I'm feeling like this thing's just... I'm sorry, friends. Sorry that those tuned in and wanted more. But today is just not my day. I'm going to try again as a little special tomorrow. And maybe try and knock out some more chapters here tomorrow. Like 7. 6. But I don't fucking know. I'm just not in the mood today. My internet has fucked me over. And I just, yeah. I'm sorry. That's it. Sorry there wasn't more this week, but that's all I can do. That's all my brain can handle right now. My friends, we're going to try this again tomorrow. I haven't set in stone my time yet, but I'm going to try and finish out a couple more chapters and at least give y'all a decent show for this week. This kind of sucked. It's not really up to my standard, but the fucking internet was fucking it all up. So I'm sorry is all I have to say, and hopefully things will work out better in the coming streams. I don't know. I'm just not in the mood right now. All right. Bye, y'all.